David Ferrer is one of the most consistent players on the ATP World Tour, with an impressive record on both clay and hard courts. And he's been able to be successful on both surfaces because he fine-tunes his game accordingly. Let's compare his last match at the French Open against Gael Monfils to his last encounter here in Melbourne against Richard Gasquet. In Paris, his average ground stroke speed was 118 kilometers an hour. The average height over the net was 1.62 meters. Interestingly, here in Melbourne, there's very little difference. Only 2k in it in terms of speed, and just the 1 centimetre in regard to the average trajectory of his ground strokes. But there are two ways in which you can take time away from your opponent. If you can't generate more pace, you can take the ball earlier, and this is where Ferrer makes the adjustment. Look at where the Spaniard hits his returns on clay, on average standing about 3/4 of a metre behind the baseline. But then in Australia, he moves much further up the court, standing on average just over half a metre closer. And in terms of his ground strokes, once the rally gets underway, he makes an effort to take the ball earlier too. On clay, his average rally hit point is 75 centimetres behind the baseline, whereas on hard courts, it's just over 40 centimetres further up the court. So this fine-tuning of his game plan allows him to be effective on both clay and hard courts. But we know that historically he struggles to beat the very best players in the world, and here's why. If we compare Ferrer's numbers to those posted so far in Melbourne by Djokovic, it becomes obvious that the Spaniard's going to find the going tough. The world number one can generate more pace on serve, has hit more winners and fewer unforced errors, and has won a higher percentage of points when returning serve too. The only silver lining to this very dark cloud is the fact that Ferrer has excelled so far in terms of his breakpoint conversion rate. At 71%, it's easily the very best of all the men left in the event.
Made that as well. That is just brilliance again from Ferrer.
Historically, Ferrer has struggled against the best this generation has to offer. And if we compare them to the legends of the game, we can see why. Djokovic, Federer and Murray are the only active players to rank inside the all-time top 10 in terms of overall winning percentage on hard courts. And Ferrer's record against those three is poor. He's played Federer 8 times on hard and never beaten him. He's only managed 1 win against Murray in 6 attempts. And he's only defeated Djokovic twice in the 7 previous meetings between those two, leaving his overall record against that trio at 3 wins in 21 attempts. So whilst he's obviously an intelligent player and undoubtedly a phenomenal competitor, he's just not quite as good when compared to the very best in the business. So Djokovic has to be the favourite to eventually prevail.